Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. I really can't get over this cool angle I can do with my camera, my front camera at least on my iPad Pro. Anyway, so I need to make a bit of an apology to you folk. When we were talking on one of the last videos anyways, about Montery and the expiry date, we figured we'd get about another 2 to 3 years out of it. Well, apparently I was incorrect, and I'm sorry. Okay, turns out that Monterey, from everything I found, and I did a lot of research this morning on this, Monterey is going to expire of December this year, 2024. And then Monterey will no longer receive any more feature or security updates at that point. So the last of anything is going to happen at the end, or near the end at least. But the actual cutoff date is for December. Now, there is no fixed date yet, but if you want some fixed dates, just so you know, Mojave kind of expired Tuesday, November 30th of 2021. Catalina was Sunday, November 20th of 2022. Now, that's getting specific. macOS Big Sur expired Monday, November 20th of 2023. So that was just a little over a month ago. You would have received, or maybe not, but either way, your butt was cut off on Big Sur Monday, November 20th of 2023. Big Sur, they don't have a fixed date in December. All they are saying is at the end of 2024 in December, okay? We won't get a fixed date till it actually officially happens. So then we'll have to revisit this in 2025 and say, okay, guess what? Now we got a new one on the list. This is Monterey. This is when it actually officially ended. Now, does this mean what does this mean about surfing the internet? What's this mean about internet security for your OS? And OS security in general for, trying to keep hackers out, trying to at least. Okay, that means you got no more support. So if they find that extra loophole, they're in, kind of thing. But you know what? No matter how secure an operating system may appear to be, it's not 100%. Nothing ever is. There's always a loophole somewhere, okay? But they make it tighter and tighter and tighter. And Apple is all about overkill on security. They're trying to keep us as safe as they possibly can, with still allowing us to have a connection to the outside world, okay? So, and we can up that security manually as well, above and beyond. But it's kind of like, well, it does get to that point where if you're that paranoid, maybe you shouldn't even be on the friggin' internet or even on a computer, okay? Because no matter what you do, unless you don't own a computer and you're not on the internet, that's about your only safety as far as that goes, just not taking part in the world. But if you are having a computer in the home and you are on the internet, you're about as at risk as anybody else when it comes to being hacked or virused. That's always been there, okay? Doesn't mean it'll ever happen. It could be that it never happens, okay? But it's about, they're trying to keep us secure and safe, right? That's what Apple's trying to do here. And that's what internet browsers try to do the best they can with as well, whether it's Google Chrome or Brave or Safari from Apple or whatever browser you want to use, okay? And there's always newer browsers coming out too that are like, oh, look at the new click now, I'm like, whatever, okay? I'm kind of like, I like, I prefer Google Chrome, okay? That's my favorite browser. I like how it works. I like the interface. I use it on my Mac. I use it on my PC, okay? Now, with all that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about Catalina, because Catalina, as of the last time I loaded it on a system, which was actually not that long ago, it was still surfing with Chrome. But when I installed Chrome, it came up with a message saying, look, we're going to allow you to have this, but just be aware, whatever updates are in it, you're done. We are not giving you any more security updates. So once any of those security certificates are expired, that's when you start getting booted off websites. Now, I personally would not 100% trust being on the internet with that expired of an OS, because the OS in itself has not had any security updates since 2022, okay? So 2023, I would probably venture a guess that you are likely still very safe with your OS, and it's not a big deal, okay? We are now in 2024. My thinking on this, get your stuff up to date. Now, if you do own a Mac that can no longer handle legit, okay, so supported Mac OS updates, then I would suggest perhaps one of two options. If you want to stay with the Mac ecosystem, that is, okay, in the Mac world. And that is buy a new computer and get off the Intel band, okay, because Intel is dead, and it's going to get even deader very, very soon when we get M4s. And I think M5s are probably going to even annihilate Intel themselves at that point, if not sooner. But anyways, you know, get a new computer is option one, okay? Just get what you need, okay, for a computer. Option number two would be, well, there is Open Core Legacy Patcher, and you can put an unsupported OS on an old Mac and try and teach it some new tricks. Behind the camera right now is the MacBook Pro 2011 I gave my wife, and I threw Montery on it, and then I found out, oh, we're going to expire at the end of this year. You know what? Maybe just to save me some time to, let's update this thing now. Let's go to Ventura, because Ventura still has likely, in my guesstimation, 2 years left, okay? That's estimated. I ain't going to apologize if I'm wrong, because this is an estimation. This is not set in stone where I think something is going to happen or I know it's going to happen. Monterey was one thing. It's kind of like, oh, we should have 2 or 3 years left. Turns out, no, we don't. We got like to the end of this year. Okay, Ventura likely, according to the statistical pattern that I've seen come up on all these friggin' tabs, the statistical pattern points towards 2 years tops. And then Ventura is bye-bye. Okay, so we got to the end of this year for Monterey. Apple will likely release the new OS by the end of this year, because we are due for one apparently. And then the only supported OSs will be at that time. Let me get this straight in my head so I get it right. Ventura, Sonoma, and the new kid on the block, whatever that's going to be called. Then likely the following year after that, Ventura, so this is where we get 2 years, Ventura will get cut off when the new OS will be released, 2026 I think we're talking about. And then it'll just keep compounding from there. So Apple keeps basically 3 OSs online at a time. So once they come out with a new one, the one on the back street, it gets cut off and boom. Now, security on the internet, surfability, security of your operating system, when it's cut off, I don't know how long that actually lasts. Okay, like how safe you're going to be for how long before you are completely compromised. I do know that, you know, Google Chrome, I mean, if you look at Chrome, it's still installing on Catalina, and Catalina was officially cut off November 20th of 2022, and even up to like a week ago, you could still download Chrome because it is now working with 10.1.5 and above, right, is what's supported. But in 10.1.5, we are talking 10.1.5. If you look that up, what is it called? It is called Catalina, okay? Now, they do say when you go to install it on Catalina, this is all you're getting. We will not update this browser any further, okay? But the minimum OS you require right now is 10.1.5 Catalina. So if you have an OS previous to Catalina, apparently it won't even install. And I did run into that. So, yeah. There you go. Anyhow, I do the best I can. You know, I do make mistakes, and I do come good for apologizing when I make one. And this is a mistake I made. I assumed we would have 2 to 3 years left of at least Monterey, right? But apparently, not so much. So the OS will be cut off at the end of this year for Monterey, but that does not mean that you need to panic or go into a frenzy or a panic attack or anything, you know, going, oh no, I'm expired. Okay, you're going to still have some time that you can still surf with it. You're still going to have whatever last security is there until those certificates expire before you probably need to worry about this. However, the sooner you can fix the problem, the sooner you can be 100% totally secure again, okay? That means either a new computer or you have the option to run Open Core Legacy Patcher. Now, before we go, Open Core Legacy Patcher, it is for putting unsupported OSs on old dogs to teach them new tricks, okay, which is great, and it keeps your computer running longer. Now, it does not do anything for the resale value of your computer. It's tits up, man. It's done, okay? There is not much to be had there for value anymore. Though you can keep these things running with OCLP, that's fine, but don't expect any resale value here. It's kind of like done now at that point, okay? Because you can't put a supported OS on it ever again. Just not going to happen, all right? So, well, you'll be able to put an unsupported OS on, just not a natively supported OS. It comes at a price to run Open Core Legacy Patcher. That price is pretty simple, and it's nothing to, write home about. It's not a panic button completely, but you do get higher thermals, okay? Even your resting point will over fluctuate too much. Like we're talking 10 to 15 degree fluctuations on and off, just sitting there doing nothing. When you run the programs you normally run that, your thermals would take quite a while to build, well, now they build a lot faster because you're putting a really raunchy OS on an old dog that ain't meant to run that OS. So you have to expect that you're going to get the higher thermals and you're going to take a performance hit, okay, which means things are going to slow down a bit, including your booting time, okay? I kind of look at my wife's MacBook Pro that's behind this camera that it's finishing off its Sonoma update now because I just get it over with now. But it takes about as long to boot off of an SSD, okay, especially running Sonoma on a 2011, but even Montery was not much different. It takes almost about the same time as it did with a hard drive. Okay, you remember hard drives were slow. We had a little mild experience with a hard drive on a 2010 that she had before. It was like, oh my gosh, is this thing ever gonna load? Because I thought for sure, I knew we put 16 gigs of RAM in it, but as far as the drive goes, I thought I had already put an SSD. I'm like, why is this thing taking like 4 hours to load an OS, like to install, right? And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, now it's finally done. Why is it taking like friggin', wow, this is like forever to load this. What's going on? So I ripped it apart, found out, oh yeah, I guess we didn't change out the HDD antique. So we threw an SSD in and that actually helped it quite a bit. But when you start putting on a really heavy OS like Sonoma, it's gonna feel like having a supported OS on, but with an HDD. It's not gonna be quite as zippy now, okay, for loading. So, SSDs are supposed to help, but in this case, it does help because otherwise you're waiting a lot longer for anything to run. Even programs will take forever to launch. But it does slow down your program launching, putting a really super heavy-duty OS on this old dog, okay? So just keep that in mind anyways, all right? Just so you know. When it comes to all this, that's kind of where we're at, all right? So when the end of the year hits, if all you have is a computer that's only supported to Monterey, buy a new one or use Open Core Legacy Patcher for as long as you can tolerate it. Because it is going to slow your computer down a bit and it is going to run hotter thermals. And repasting, by the way, does not make any friggin' difference. I already did that between two 2012s. I repasted one and the other one I just left alone. Same results, okay? It's not going to make a difference, okay? But then again, if you're already running hotter thermals than you should with a supported OS, then I would say repaste, because that would be a definite indication you should. Right? Because it's getting kind of old. Even this one, I should technically repaste it because it's a 2011. But I'll get to that when I'm motivated, because that takes being functional, awake, and having patience that day. So it's not a big rush, so I'm not worried about it right now. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks so much for watching and staying tuned to this. Be sure, comments below. If you got questions, ask them. I do the best I can to give you guys the best information, and when I do make my boo-boos, at least I do say, I'm sorry I made a boo-boo, and now is my correction time. So there you go. Anyways, out of here. Bye.